Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 164 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long. We're coming to you once again from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services right here in downtown Gastonia. We have another great guest today, and I'm very happy to have Sandi McCarter on the podcast today, who is a financial advisor for Edward Jones here in Gastonia. However, that's only one of the reasons why we have her on today. Sandi is a fellow Rotarian, and we serve together on the executive leadership team for our local Walk to End Alzheimer's. So Sandi's involved with a lot of things. So looking forward to hearing more about her leadership and community journey. Sandi, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So, as usual, we like to get right to it in that first classic question. So if you don't mind, for our listeners, just share a little bit about yourself, anything that you would like to share.
Well, as you mentioned, Sandi McCarter, financial advisor with Edward Jones. Our office is in Gastonia. I live in Belmont with my husband of just over 20 years, Michael. He is from Gastonia.
Oh, wow.
And then
good for him.
Yeah. He had, so we have a daughter. She's 28, and she is in a doctorate program for community college leadership. So good for her. It's a lot of hard work. And she's married to the best son-in-law we could have ever asked for, Noah. And we have our son who just started high school, and he is a talented musician, so the house is always full of drum sounds and singing and guitar, barking, but he's not the one barking, that's the dogs. So, yeah, pretty exciting.
And where's he in high school, if you don't mind me asking?
He's at Highland Tech.
Okay,
yeah.
Very good.
So very excited to be there. And so I'm a native Charlottean. So we live in Belmont now.
We won't hold that against you.
And so grew up, I went to West Meck High School, so cruised Franklin quite often on the weekends growing up. So I have a degree in business from East Carolina.
Oh, that's unfortunate, Sandi. We won't hold that against you either. I mean, it's like Charlotte, East Carolina. That's like a double whammy.
I'm going to get kicked out already. But I joined my father. He ran a manufacturing business in Charlotte, and I joined him in the 90s, and that's really where I spent the first half of my career. And we kind of grew that from a regional business to national reach through a little thing called the World Wide Web. So I still remember our first website. It did not look that great. I didn't even build it, but and I got email that first time, and I thought, what are we ever going to use this for? This is silly.
Dial-up connections.
That's right.
You have no idea what that means, do you? Yeah.
So that's where I spent most of the time. But we positioned that for sale in 2014, stayed on a while to consult, and then I kind of decided, all right, I got to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. So I was a little older, and I thought, all right, I got to get this right. Really wanted to finish out strong in some career, but decided at that point, maybe I want to be licensed clinical social worker. So therapist, talk to people. And I got 1 year into that program, and really something tapped me on the shoulder and said, this isn't the right path. And that happens sometimes. Yeah, sure. So then I thought, oh gosh, I'm at square one, but you're really not at square one. You've learned, you've grown. So at that point, I had already been approached by a couple of people to consider Edward Jones in financial advising. And at that point, I thought, wow, that does sound like something that makes sense for me. It kind of marries my business and financial brain of running a business for so many years, and then also just kind of empathetic, wanting to serve people and help at a real level. So at that point, kind of took the leap, went and got all the series testing, and actually just finished the CFP, which is a big deal in our industry. So, so it's kind of been a wild ride, but I now have my dream job. Love doing it. I can't imagine not doing it. No rush for retirement for me. And that's kind of where I am today. And
now the peak of your career is here on the Gaston's Great podcast, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So you kind of already answered that, kind of our question we lead off with after that is kind of what inspired you to get into your line of work. So you kind of already touched on that. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit to the leadership stuff, community stuff. Obviously we'll make sure you have an opportunity to talk about how people can find you and before we finish up. But looking back, so you've got a good diversity of almost two different careers, maybe. Is that fair? Yeah. So kind of any leadership lessons you've learned along the way, Best leadership advice you've ever been given? Because we love talking about, work, leadership, community, all that kind of stuff. Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think leadership lessons is really listening. That's the key. I mean, I saw something the other day, how can you find the smartest person in the room, and you look for the person that's being quiet.
Yeah.
Now that could just be the shy person, but also I think sometimes just listening and trying to hear what other people have gone through, understand their experience. People are just teachers. They teach you a lot about who you want to be, who you want to become, who you don't want to become. So I think leadership has a lot to do with kind of knowing the people around you and listening. It's
interesting you say that, and I've said this on multiple, I think, episodes that we've recorded, that when I was younger, I thought it was the loudest person was the leader, right? Or the best leader, maybe. With my vocabulary is not the best probably to describe that, but yeah, now that I agree with you, as I've gotten older, to me, it's those who are listening the best. That might be the most important leadership skill. Is just being able to take that on. So, what about anybody give you any great leadership advice that you look back on and you remember something like, wow, that was impactful?
Yeah, I think advice that I maybe didn't take and trying to take it more now is, to trust my instinct. So I've been told that a long time. You've got a good head on your shoulders. You have good business sense. You should really trust your instinct. So I'm definitely somebody that likes to learn. So I read, and that's how I learned a lot about business and how to run a business. But I think going back, I would kind of say, I probably should just trust my instinct a little bit more and know that maybe I know a little bit more than I give myself credit for sometimes.
That's easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but yeah, I don't know if it's confidence or whatever, but yeah, of course you should trust your instincts, but yeah, that's one of those things that's not as easy for me anyway as maybe it should be. What about where you're at now, or even going back through your career? What role has community played in it? Because I mean, I see it firsthand. I'm seeing it firsthand for the last few years from specifically Rotary and the Alzheimer's Association in your involvement. But kind of how has that grown or progressed and brought you to being involved in organizations like that?
I would say the one of the, I guess, pivotal moments was we moved to Belmont in 2015, and I was introduced just a year or so later to Dwayne Burks. So he runs Gateway Gaston.
Yep, I know Dwayne. He's been on the podcast.
Yes, and we were introduced by John Whitaker, who was at City Church now, was Bethlehem, and they were having a huge event called Convoy of Hope. And so I know John, him and my husband go way, way back, and he asked me if I would help lead the nonprofit tent. So they wanted to bring out just a lot of nonprofits from Gaston County, get them all together so that the people there that were coming for, shoes and groceries and family portraits, they could walk through the tent and realize what resources are there every day in Gaston. And that's one of the challenges. People might not have transportation. They don't know that there's a resource across the county for them. So I was tasked with that. Of course, I didn't really know a whole lot about nonprofits in Gaston. I had just sold a business a couple of years before, and so he connected me with Dwayne Burks, got to know him. He's a dear friend. I consider him a mentor as well, and we had over 30 nonprofits come out to that event, and we've done another convoy and then another event that wasn't a convoy label, but a similar event, and I really enjoyed that because I got to see what was out there and just really meet folks that were in Gaston County doing really boots on the ground work at that level and serving the community. So I think that, that's been great. I hope to be invited back to help get another one together. So John, if you're listening, let me know. I'm not too busy. But I think that's one of the things. And then Rotary, I didn't really realize Rotary was a thing. Another mentor of mine, that's kind of a theme, he had mentioned years ago that I should consider, back when I was in Charlotte, the Charlotte Rotary, and I was like, I don't even know what Rotary is.
Yeah. So it's a very, very well-kept secret.
That's exactly right. And so I actually started talking to Laurel Morris, and I can't remember exactly how we met, but she was talking about Rotary and what it was, and I thought, wait a minute. These are my people. How have I missed this, at this point? So I immediately wanted to join Rotary, and I did join the Rotary Club of Gastonia.
Correct.
And I love it. And it was amazing to me that, again, a lot of leaders and people that are serving our community come together and then give back and are friends with each other and encourage each other, and that's a really special thing.
Yeah, I will say December will be 24 years for me in the Rotary Club, and I often say this, and we could probably go find some episodes where I've said this, but if you had told me 24 years ago that Rotary would be as big a part of my life as it is, I would have said, no, probably not. But yeah, I'm past president, and I've been on every committee, been on the board. So yeah, it's an interesting and really, at the risk of sounding a little cheesy, it's an inspirational group.
Yeah.
You get to interact with those people every week. So yeah, it's been good for me and in our community as a whole too. So business, community, personal, something stands out that you're most proud of accomplishing or seeing happen with something that you're involved with, or something stand out for you?
I feel like there's been a lot. I'm certainly proud of my kids, and not just what they accomplish, but the relationship that I've been able to create with them. My dad kind of taught me that, to be very close. My dad and I, to this day, share almost everything, and I mean almost everything. And so I've tried to foster that with my children, so I'm very proud of that. And then I think, business, I went into the business really not knowing how to run a business with my father. And he was more of the production side. And fortunately, I had a math brain and handled the financial side. And hey, I became good at business development, and it worked out. But, I think I'm really proud of that and putting the effort into it. And I think that's, I hate to say it's just business, but it probably should be something,
Well, no, that's good.
It made a big difference. I guess people that work there, they depended on us to keep it going through 2008 when things were really tight. And
that was an interesting time.
So we made it through, and we kept a lot of employees. They had been there forever, and I just think that's a testament to, I guess the environment that you create and how you serve them.
Well, something that I think is lost often on small businesses or any business owner is, you can easily gloss over the impact you're making for the community just through the families that are employed.
Right.
And so there's so much more, besides the business entity itself, in my opinion. I've learned that over time. And we've got here quite a few families that are relying on, frankly, my brother not to screw it up, right? And to your point about not knowing business, my brother and I both came out of engineering school, and which is terrific. But we're not doing any business training, right? So, yeah, we had to come out and figure that out as we went. Yeah. Which, if I'd been any smarter, I would have realized I need to take some business classes in college. But, we've learned along the way, and it's been interesting, You kind of touched on this, but what about in that business and your business now, something that you would say or describe as a key to your success, being able to build a business and sell it, and then maybe even what or compared to what you're doing now?
I go back to being a learner. I don't think I'll ever get to a point to where I think I know enough. I don't really need to learn anything. I love nonfiction books, so not just self-help. That sounds really cheesy, but memoirs, of people that have been successful. And then just in general, how can I challenge myself to grow, to be better? And just even right now, how can I connect with clients that sit across from me better and make it an excellent experience? So I just always want it to be the best that it can be. And so whether that's kind of a spirit of excellence, I don't know, but I think that's the key, is really learning, and having mentors is obviously a very
so continue. Am I hearing right? Continuous learning, right?
Yeah.
There's never. I've told our teams here, and I've always thought if ever comes a day when I walk in and say, you know what, we've got it, we're good, we know everything, we don't need to learn anymore. That would be a huge red flag. Just this morning, Wednesdays we're recording this on Wednesday. What's today? The 20th. Happens to be training day for our service department, and I happen to be talking to a really young technician of ours who just recently went out in his own van. I was asking him how it was going. I asked him what have you learned the last few weeks as he's going out on his own for the first time, and he told me a few things, and then I said, I asked him, I said, how long do you think I've been doing this? I said, 32 years. And I said, you think I'm keep learning things every single day? He said, probably. I said, that's exactly right. So 32 years later, yeah, I'm still learning something probably every day here. And maybe not related just to the business, but Rotary, networking, interacting with others, community stuff, whatever. I mean, I'm learning stuff from Rachel over here every week too. So, who wasn't even born yet when I probably when I graduated college. No, gosh, you weren't even born when I graduated college. Wow, feeling old again. Every episode, Rachel, you make me feel old. What's next for you in your work, your industry? What's the big thing? I'm sometimes afraid to ask this question, but I've done it a few times recently. How is the big AI impacting, your industry? Because it's impacting ours for sure.
Right. Yeah. So there's definitely AI out there that people say, oh, it's going to replace all of our jobs. I tend to lean in and say, I don't know. I think we're going to be okay, and we're going to use AI and harness it for good. And Edward Jones is already embracing AI, kind of on the back end and trying to just see how it can help the advisors, I guess, service the clients better, faster. So I'm very excited about that. But I tell you, the next big thing for me, and it's kind of a recent aha moment, I love small business. I even say that on my website. I love it, and probably just because I grew up in it. I was working at the business before I was working at the business on many a Saturday, for free, by the way. So if Dad's listening, listen. I think I need some back pay. But and that was a great time. But I think now I really would like to help small business in the next 5 to 10 years. I know what it's like to try to figure out what plan, like retirement plan, to offer. You're starting the business, you're not sure you can afford it, you're not sure, but you want to retain employees. It's good for the employees to have that. And I would love to get more involved in helping business streamline that process, bring something on, a retirement plan that services, them where they're at as well as their employees. And I think that's kind of my next big focus.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Business owners, I think we can get so focused on the day-to-day stuff. Right, and all of a sudden, 10 years is going by, 15 years is going by, and we're not thinking as long term sometimes as we should. Now, we used to try to do these long term plans, but things change so fast. We probably only look 2 or 3 years out, and when we used to try to look 5 or 10 out, and we just don't anymore because things are just happening so fast and changing so fast. So it's interesting. We're our type of industry. I'm not sure AI is going to impact us as much as some, because we still going to have people to go out and fix units and install units, but all the other things from our software and CRM and back end stuff, we're seeing it impact it, even phone answering.
Right.
I mean,
exactly. Well, and I see AI kind of like where it was when the websites came about and in email. Right? We looked at that and we were, how is this ever going to work? YouTube, I remember watching YouTube and going, who is ever going to sit and watch videos? And now that is really what people do to learn how to do things.
It is, yeah.
Or they'll just even watch somebody play a video game, which is just, amazing to me. So I think it's the same thing, and it's kind of not being close-minded or afraid of the next thing, the AI. I guess it could take over the world, right? But at that point, it doesn't. We
Terminator.
just worried, right? But there's no reason to worry about it. I think we embrace new technology, and again, learn about it. We've even talked some in Rotary about some of the developments, and I just think that's what you do. You just learn about it and you embrace it and make it work for you. And I think that's the beauty of the human mind. We can adapt. We can make things work for us.
You mentioned reading and learning, and especially reading, whether it's self-help or I'm a big biography reader as well. But is there a book or two that stands out that you would recommend? Oof. I'm always looking for my next read to put in my queue that I'm not going to get to.
Yeah. So I would say one of the best ones is, and I didn't write this down, so I believe I'm getting the name right. I believe it's Viola Davis, and her memoir is just be ready with a Kleenex.
Okay.
I can be a crier, so maybe you won't cry, but she is so transparent and authentic and real as a person. And it was just something that once I read that, it moved me to, again, remember to go through this world being real and authentic, not trying to act smarter than you are, or people probably want me to act this way because I'm a financial advisor. I'm a person, So I think that one, and then not memoir. And I guess the Matthew Perry one also. I was a big Friends fan, and that's a hard read though, and it could be triggering for folks that might have lost someone. So just be aware of that. But I will say the book that I'm reading right now, that's just it's probably not for everyone, but it's called The Devil at His Elbow, and that's the Alex Murdaugh story.
Oh, okay.
And it's not fiction. Everything that's in there is from interviews. It's documented, so it's really
that captivated this region, didn't it?
It did, and I really didn't follow it at the time. I think I was really busy as a busy season of life, so I really didn't follow that as much. But I think maybe someone spoke at an event recently. I don't know if it was some recent event. Maybe Literacy Council, but I think they had the author come and speak.
Well, that hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened.
But the author is coming. Yes.
Okay, and I think it might be a female, but I could be wrong on that.
I think that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, so that book is fascinating. I am really enjoying that.
Interesting.
Again, I love to see people's story. It's a story of this powerful family that's been around for generations and kind of running this town, and just how that kind of power can corrupt.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's just a lesson.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of details of, but just on the surface, it seems just how in the world, right?
Yeah,
did this happen? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Because listen, that's the question we used to always ask was book recommendation, but I don't know. I've learned that not very many people read anymore. It's videos and it's short form, maybe podcasts, something that people start with. But I'm always reading something. Matter of fact, I'm rereading right now a book I haven't read in probably 10 years. Is the old classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes.
To me, that might be the classic book that I would recommend to young people to read or at least listen to. I'm sure there's audio out there. And I've also found that books like that, it's different depending on where I'm at in the different stages of my life. That's why I will reread something like that, or try to every few years. I get something different from it, even though I've read it multiple times. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That book is classic. And speaking of listening, I mean, that is really going back and just in the 20s. And I tried to get my daughter to read that early on, and I don't remember if she finished it, but yes.
All three of my kids have a copy. I'm pretty sure they haven't read it yet. But we just dropped our youngest off for her second year at NC State last week, and that book was on her bookshelf in her room. Nice. So I'm like, well, there were a couple on there that I had given her, so maybe she'll check it out sometime. So, Sandy, before we kind of move on, is there anything I haven't asked that I should have asked, or anything you'd like to share? Like I said, we'll make sure before we finish, we'll make sure people know how to find you, but anything I haven't asked that I should have asked? Well,
I would really like to let people know about the Alzheimer's Walk. You shared that we are on that committee together.
Thank you, yes.
And, it's something that I wasn't aware of. I did lose a grandmother to dementia. And but I think we all have someone in, 7 degrees of separation. Or, somebody has been affected or is being affected currently by dementia, by Alzheimer's. And we have a wonderful walk that happens every year. This year is October 11th. It's going to be at the Rotary Pavilion. Before, we've had it at the ballpark. I don't know where it will be next year, but it is a wonderful time to come together and honor people who are living with it now, who are caring for someone that live with it, or have lost someone. And there's definitely some somber moments, but there's also just a celebration of each other as a community. And I think that is something that I'd love to have people know about. If you want to be a part of a team, there's no cost to do so. We do have a team at the branch. I would give the name, but we're rebranding that name because it had my name in it, and so we're going to do it as a branch now. But I would love for people to check that out this year. It's, just a couple hours of time, and I think that people will really be impressed about the walk and kind of how we come together as a community.
Well, I really appreciate that because, I don't know that I've even brought it up in any of our episodes. I should have, and I probably should get the team from Charlotte that helps with that, with the Alzheimer's Association. Now, I said Charlotte, but this walk is for Gaston County. It's for Gaston, Lincoln, and Cleveland County. But the Alzheimer's Association for our region is based in Charlotte. But I appreciate you bringing that up because it is important. And my wife and I both serve on the committee with you, and we have the connection too with the family member currently. So it is a good event. It's a good group of people. So yeah, it's just, I appreciate you bringing that up, because it is something that's become super important to my family personally. And you're right. It's a heavy topic, but it's still a good event, and the organization does a lot of good work,
Right.
and so I appreciate that. So we're going to shift gears a little bit, in remembering that this is, a podcast about Gaston County, good things happening in and around Gaston County. And you've been here long enough to answer this question. So from your perspective, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
I know people say the people. I've listened to the podcast. Yeah. People always say the people, and I thought I've got to come up with a different answer than just the people. But honestly,
Not
it's
necessarily.
really the people. Yeah. It's friendly. People seem to know they're connected in some way, and they're proud of that. They're proud that they went to Hunter Hus together.
Yeah.
They're proud that they, grew up in cruised Franklin, or, worked at Belk's. So my mother-in-law, she was a buyer for Belk's for many, many years. And so, knowing people that work at Belk's, and I'm going to share that, and then sometimes they know her, so I just think that that's special, that it's still small town enough. But, I'm a big city girl too, so I like being really close to Charlotte, so I can pop in for a Panthers game, Blumenthal. So, I think that's what's so special, is that we're close to anything you could want in a big city, airport included. But then here, it's really a small town feel.
Yeah,
You're going to see people at the local restaurant that it's going to be very challenging to not see somebody that you recognize or that you know. So I like that.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you an example, we had a vendor come into town last night, and my wife and I took them to a Webb, right? And they were kind of taken aback that place like that here is in Gaston County, right here in Gaston.
We're very fortunate.
Yeah. But it was great though to take somebody from Raleigh. They were three guys that we are partners with in one of our vendors. So it was just, that has something that's changed in the last 10 to 15 years too. It's
right.
You don't have to drive across the river necessarily if you want to host somebody or an event or somebody like that.
Right.
So I think this, we got a couple questions that I really like, and we're going to answer all three of them.
Okay.
All right. So the first one is, Sandi, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
I think it goes back to, trusting your instinct.
Okay,
But one thing that kind of sticks with me lately is, to allow yourself to take up space. That's kind of a new kind of a saying. But, to be in the room and not just think, well, nobody wants to hear from me, I don't have anything to add. But every person can take up space and have something to add.
Oh, sure.
And so
that's good.
20-year-old self wasn't as confident to take up space and be herself and read nonfiction, because she should be reading this or that. And I am happy that I kind of found what I liked, and today just, again, trying to take up the space that I belong in.
Oh, that's good. That's a kind of a unique first after 164 episodes. We haven't heard anything like that before. So, what about someone's made an impact on you, personally, professionally, leadership, community perspective? You mentioned mentor a couple times. Oh, yeah. But how would you answer that question?
And I love honoring mentors, and I hope that I am considered that to other people. I think the first one really is my father, working with him for so many years. He really taught me a lot about business and just getting in there and doing it, and not doing it, not being too afraid to do it, and giving that confidence that, hey, you can figure it out. And I don't know if that was really always true, but I did a lot of times figure things out that I look back and think, I don't know what I was thinking. Why would I think I could do that? But I think, my dad, who is still here, he's in Charlotte, and hoping to move to Gaston County soon, so yay. But I think that, and then also Keith Nowakunski, and so he works for Edward Jones, but I knew him from the business. He was in the print world, and we were print adjacent in our manufacturing. And I will say, just for many years, he was the person that would speak into me and tell me that I could do bigger and better things than I thought I could. And I just really appreciate that. I really appreciate him seeing me. And then I think Dwayne Burks, Dwayne just kind of gave me this love of people. He actually recommended a book called, oh goodness, I'm not going to be able to remember it. I should have wrote it down.
That's all right.
But it's a great book, and but it's about loving people for exactly who they are. And I really needed that at that moment in my life, because it was just trying to understand how to see people for them, and that just really serves me today in my job, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
I would call. I think when he was on the podcast, we talked a little bit. I think I called him a connector. He connects.
He is
so many people, organization, solutions, or whatever. He just seems to be really good at that type of that type of thing. And every community needs that on some level.
Absolutely.
So this last question is another one I like. So Sandi, if you could have coffee with one historical person, who would it be and why?
Wow. That is really a hard one.
That's why we ask it.
Yeah. I didn't see that in the prep. Actually.
Was it not on the prep?
I didn't see it. I will say it's my mistake.
Well, good. No, well, then we threw your curveball then.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm ready for it. So I really think I would probably pick Maya Angelou. I really respect her. I respect her work, respect who she was moving through this journey of life. And it wasn't necessarily a traditional journey that she moved through, family-wise and other. And I really, really would love to sit down and have her just speak, you just talk to me, and I'll just listen. But I think that'd be my person.
Oh, that's great. And that's another one we haven't heard. So, I agree. And she got a North Carolina connection, too, with her. So, again, I appreciate that. So, Sandi, this has been great. So, like I mentioned, where can listeners go to find out more about you, your business, anything, the Alzheimer's Association, while we're thinking about that? Just anything and everything you want to share here before we finish up.
Thank you. So I do have a website, and so really a Google search of Sandi McCarter, Edward Jones, Gastonia is going to get you right to that website.
Okay,
I feel confident. And there you can follow me on social media, as well as the Alzheimer's information is there. There's also a contact form, so if people want to know more about the Alzheimer's Walk, joining the team, again, there's no cost involved. You can just come out and be a part of the community. I would love to have contact forms coming in saying, hey, I want to join the team. Let me know how. So that's where they can find me.
Yeah, I'm sure if they Google, just walked in Alzheimer's Gaston County or Gastonia, they'll come up where they can donate directly or find out how to form a team. That's really what we really are looking for, is just involvement. Obviously, it's to raise money for research, but it's also to get people more aware.
Absolutely.
And about the work that's being done, and to bring people together on October 11th. So again, I do appreciate that greatly. So any last words?
I remember the name of the book.
Oh, excellent.
So it's Practicing the Presence of People. And I've read it a couple of times. And again, that's one that Dwayne gave to me and said, you need to read this right now. And again, just having someone look over at you and say, you know what, I am older than you, and I see what you need right now, and what you need to hear, what you need to read. I just think that's so valuable. So, I appreciate you having me. This has been fun.
Yeah, it's been great.
So I appreciate it, and thanks.
Absolutely. Well, you're very welcome. And I'm going to finish up with my own little quote or thought for the week. And this ties into so much about what you talked about learning and education and just continuous learning. And again, we didn't collaborate beforehand that you were going to talk so much about that. But my quote this week comes from Nelson Mandela. And I did pick this quote primarily because school is just back in. Colleges, local public schools and all that just got back. Here we are in mid-August. And he said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And if you don't know much about Nelson Mandela, he's somebody else I would recommend just doing a little research and study on. He was quite the individual who overcame a lot to make a real impact on the world. So take that for what it's worth, but he's worth studying, looking into. So to our listeners out there, thanks so much for taking time to listen to today's episode. Please continue to spread the word if you can about the podcast, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at our email address, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us on all our social media platforms and give us a good 5-star rating, as Rachel reminds me every week, that gets us noticed. Correct, Rachel? You can speak into your microphone.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks again to Sandi for being our guest today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Rachel Cowart from GSM Services. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.